3 साल PhD, हाउ इज इट स्ट्रक्चर्ड, व्हाई इज इट 3 years फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल? क्योंकि पूरे वर्ल्ड में मैंने जहां भी PhD देखी है 4 to 5 years लग जाते हैं. मैंने कोई जॉर्जिया स्टेट और जॉर्जिया टेक से आज तक कोई स्टूडेंट नहीं देखा जिसने लेस देन 5 years लगाए हो, पर 3 साल कैसे? So hello everyone, today we have Mohit here who also went to ETH Zurich for his masters, and today he'll be sharing his experience as a PhD student in Germany. So आप start करना अपनी background से कि आपने 12th के बाद undergrad कहाँ से की and your journey till PhD.
Yeah, so pretty much like right after my 12th, right after my high school, I went to IIT ISM Dhanbad. तो हमने वहाँ environmental engineering पढ़ा. And though not many people do, but IIT ISM Dhanbad is one of the few, like one of the only IITs in India जहाँ bachelor's में environmental engineering पढ़ाई होती है. So it was pretty interesting. And फिर वहाँ पे ऐसा हुआ कि second year, third year, when I was reading through some of the papers, then I came to know about a professor at ETH Zurich. So हमने second year में ही उनको mail किया, and it was not about like getting admitted into ETH or something like that. It was just a mail that I read about your paper, and I'm very interested in your work, and I would like to do something like this. Like if you have some opportunity, you can tell me if I can do it from India. And surprisingly, like हमें reply मिला था, like okay, I'll forward this to my team, and we'll see what can be done. Though nothing happened after that, to be very frank, and I understand it's very difficult to supervise someone in India from Zurich. But then yes, I was just so much interested in that place, like हम और inquire किए उसके बारे में, and pretty much then I applied to ETH for my masters, and I dropped the same professor a mail again, and he was like just okay, noted. And pretty much this is how my journey to ETH Zurich began. So yeah,
Amazing. And आपको पता कैसे चला कि 12th के बाद आपको environmental science लेनी है? इंडिया में तो स्टूडेंट्स को पता होता है कि इंजीनियरिंग या मेडिकल, तो आपको how did you get the clear vision in your mind कि यही मेरी फील्ड है?
okay, like pretty much I would say like थोड़ा सा फैमिली साइड से भी था. Like I was exposed a little more in a way. My father was a doctor back then in UNICEF, so he knew about some of the projects of the UN, like UNEP, running in the field of environment. So फिर तभी explore किया था कि what is this environmental stuff, what people are doing, like, and if I want to do something like this, how can I do that? तो हाँ, pretty much like UNEP was kind of a thing that helped me to know more about environment, and then yes, that's why I took environmental engineering.
अगर आप किसी स्टूडेंट को सिंपल से सिंपल टर्म में बताना चाहोगे व्हाट इज द लाइफ ऑफ अ एनवायरमेंटल साइंस इंजीनियर या फिर रिसर्चर, तो कैसे बताओगे? व्हाट डू दे डू?
This is a very good question, and I have struggled with this a lot in my early career. Like, it's so broad. I'll try to break it down, and I'll try to be really quick. So either you can go into the side of environmental policy and law. It's one thing that is pretty much done in India as well, everywhere. Like, it's not just the case of India. Like, you see that probably you are working in a steel industry, and you see that the regulations are met. That's one place where people work. Okay. Other thing could be going or in being involved with some bodies like UN, UNEP, where also you work in policy and management side. Let's move to the other place where a major chunk of environmental science related work is done. It's in wastewater treatment plant. Most of the like clean water, you can do it for industrial based or municipal waste, and that's one direction where most of the people work. And lastly, there is another place which is really talked about a lot. It's climate science or climate change. You do weather forecasting, you can do stuff like that. Okay. Or else, how I work it, I do most of the modeling stuff. Like if there are floods happening at some places, like right now Germany is flooded all along, so can you predict that well? So prediction comes at one of the places. So my PhD is more focused on the modeling, which involves some of mathematics or more mathematics than the other part. And yes, I utilize machine learning for that. So it's pretty much modeling forests, climate change, how much CO2 will forests take in future climate and stuff like that. So yeah, climate science wala bhi ek part hai. And lastly, I will put it like environmental management is also taking up a lot. So people can either focus there also. So it's way too broad to be really put into one word, but yeah, that would be.
बट अगर मुझे आपकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज एक लाइन में डालनी हो तो इट विल बी लाइक मॉडलिंग करना बाय हैविंग सम एनवायरमेंटल साइंस बैकग्राउंड. आपको साइंस की अंडरस्टैंडिंग है, आप अंडरस्टैंडिंग को यूज करके आप मशीन लर्निंग AI डाल के मॉडलिंग करते हो एंड आल्सो मैनेज, राइट?
Pretty much यही कि मशीन लर्निंग और क्लाइमेट चेंज यूज करके I don't lose the science. I try to explore science more. is there some science which is being missed by conventional models? It is not about just having a very good predictive accuracy. So I do machine learning, but in a way the science should not be lost.
Okay. तो आपको क्या क्या skills mind में रखनी चाहिए, मतलब जो environmental के बहुत broad है ये भी.
Like if I had to put in, like, basic coding skill is something which is always preferred, because ठीक है आप science भी पढ़ोगे, how will you create something? You need to code what you learned. So basic coding skills for sure हम बोलेंगे. If you want to go to the modeling side more, it's more about probability, stats should be good enough.
And now let's start with your journey from ETH Zurich to PhD in Germany. तो मैंने सुना है कि ETH Zurich में PhD के लिए आपको $60,000 to $70,000 मिलते हैं मास्टर्स के बाद. तो आपने, if I'm not wrong, आपने 2 साल की मास्टर्स की, right? ETH Zurich में.
Yep. So my program was of 120 credits. So typically 2 साल का कोर्स ही था हमारा. With the COVID and everything, it took me 2.5 years because I was in India back for 6 months. And yes, matlab PhD was a good option at ETH Zurich as well. I always knew that, like, many people that I know want to come to ETH Zurich doing their PhD. And yes, for me, what happened was I had few opportunities at ETH Zurich, in Zurich as well, at different places. And I really feel like, guided by my supervisors, I felt that I need to move to some other place to have a different outlook towards the subject. I knew what that particular department in environmental is doing at ETH, and that's a good thing. Now, I really wanted to go to a different place, explore a different perspective towards the same subject, and somewhat like मेरा interest भी machine learning और climate science में था. Then and it was pretty much guided by the professors at ETH Zurich. Like, he connected me to a professor who is now in Leipzig, and so वो काम कर रहे थे machine learning और climate science से related stuff पे, and that is pretty much why I moved to Germany.
Okay, so you already had a clear vision कि आपको एक diverse experience लेना है. मतलब आप same research area में या same university में research में आप थोड़ा बोर हो गए थे. You wanted to learn more from different universities, right? Yep.
Yes, you can pretty much put it that way. Like, हाँ, नए लोगों से आप मिलते हो, and especially if you want to be in academics, it's always a good thing to have a good network. Like, आप different जगह पे जाओ, people pretty much working in somewhat similar fields, but they have a different perspective towards things. तो उस sense में I wanted to move to different places.
Yep. वो कहते हैं ना, नए लोग नई सोच. तो
yeah, pretty much, yeah.
हाँ. और इसके बाद जब आपने स्विच किया जर्मनी में, कोई लैंग्वेज प्रॉब्लम नहीं आई? मतलब स्विट्जरलैंड में तो इतनी लैंग्वेज प्रॉब्लम नहीं आती, इंग्लिश आती है लोगों को. जर्मनी में कहते हैं कि आपको पहले साल जर्मन सीखनी पड़ती है. तो पीएचडी के टाइम ऐसा कुछ नहीं हुआ?
For me personally, like, I never felt that. I understand it when people say, like, German language important है. I would agree to it. Like, हाँ, आपका normal life, socializing skills, ये सब better हो जाएगा. If you know German, you can talk to people. But pretty much at my workplace, I never had that problem. Even if there are people knowing German language and we have a meeting, just for me, they'll always speak in English. So academic front पे हमें कभी नहीं लगा कि काम करने में, either in office or anywhere, कि language is a barrier. But yes, if you really want to enjoy Germany or have the true experience of Germany, language would really help.
And जो 3 साल की जो कोर्स है, 3 साल PhD, how is it structured? Why is it 3 years first of all? क्योंकि पूरे वर्ल्ड में मैंने जहां भी PhD देखी है 4 to 5 years लग जाते हैं. मैंने कोई जॉर्जिया स्टेट और जॉर्जिया टेक से आज तक कोई स्टूडेंट नहीं देखा जिसने less than 5 years लगाए हो. पर 3 साल कैसे?
So yes, like in retrospect, जब हम ये देखते हैं तो pretty much what I feel is, यहाँ पे masters is kind of compulsory to get a PhD. Like, pretty much it's very very difficult to get a direct PhD. बहुत जगह मतलब websites of the different universities mention it, but I have never seen it happening yet. Like, I've never seen a person directly admitted to a PhD. So pretty much what they expect is कि आप masters किए ही होंगे. तो basic, like, what I feel like, if you go to US universities, शुरू में foundational courses बहुत ज़्यादा होते हैं, तो you study a lot and then you also do your research. यहाँ पे this is somewhat like pretty much expected कि आप masters relatively similar field में किए होंगे, तो you have a good knowledge of the subject. And फिर 3 साल का जो ये PhD होता है, इसीलिए इसमें academic coursework भी बहुत कम होता है. Like for me, how it is structured is 30 days का हमें coursework करना, so it's just 30 days. So it could be small short courses, you could do online courses, मतलब even edX, Coursera, आप course करो and you get it approved. So it's just 30 days of courses. That is what I need to finish by the end of 3 years. तो 3 साल का भी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट होता है, एंड देन if it is really required, it can be extended for 6 more months. And one of the good things or a different things about my PhD is, यहाँ पे PhD दो टाइप से हो सकता है. Either it is funded by universities and you get a stipend, or it is funded by some research institute and you get a salary and that is taxed and everything. You get your holidays, sick leaves. So मेरा ये दूसरे kind of है, like where you get a salary. It's more like a job for me. So that has a pretty much given amount of time frame, like within 3 years, and it can be still extended for like 6 months if it's really required.
Okay, so आप अपनी research extend कर सकते हो as much time you want to, and course work थोड़ा सा ही होता है. So the more focus in Germany जो PhD आप बात कर रहे हो, research पे ज्यादा, स्टडीज पे थोड़ा कम है, क्योंकि वो तो कभी भी सीख सकते हो, ऑनलाइन कोर्सेज इतने इंपॉर्टेंट.
हाँ, और प्रीटी मच जो प्रीरेक्विजिट है वो एक्सपेक्ट करते हैं कि ड्यूरिंग योर मास्टर्स यू वुड हैव लर्न दैट. तो हाँ, रिसर्च पे फोकस इन दैट सेंस ज्यादा है और कोर्स पे थोड़ा कम है. दे आर वेरी सपोर्टिव इफ यू वांट टू डू इट, बट इट इज नॉट अ मैंडेटरी थिंग हियर.
Yeah, that's amazing. And next question आ जाता है PhD की सैलरी पे. तो how much is the salary difference? ETH Zurich का तो world wide highest package है PhD का, क्योंकि वो फुल टाइम जॉब ही हो जाती है और यू कैन मेक सफिशिएंट इन PhD ETH Zurich में. पर जर्मनी में कितना सैलरी होता है एवरेज PhD का?
यस, आई वुड से जैसे जहाँ पे हम काम करते हैं, इस रफली ग्रॉस यू गेट 3,000 euros per month. And I have lived at both the places, so probably I can comment on it. And उस हिसाब से Zurich is way more expensive to live. So that's one thing. In Germany, I would say living expenses are way less. So anyways, like if you are somebody looking for PhD, and realistically in hand, you will get 2,000 euros per month and you can manage your life roughly around 1,000 euros per month. तो आप 1,000 euros तक सेव कर सकते हो आराम से, and this is not by not having parties or anything. You can go, you can chill out and relax as well. So living cost का एक major difference आ जाता है, and that's why like I would still say if you would see overall how much you can save or how much you can really earn within these 3 years, I would say it's still comparative in a way, but I still understand on net terms. ETH Zurich pays really well.
Totally agree. Even US से ज्यादा है. US में एवरेज जो PhD का पैकेज होता है 1,500 to 2,500 होता है. आप US में ज्यादा कमा पाते हो just because of internships. नहीं, अगर internships नहीं करोगे ज्यादा सेव नहीं कर पाओगे. तो आपने भी internships की?
About the internship, so this is how it is. I've just started my PhD, तो November में start किया, then it was lockdown in Germany throughout, so no, right now I have not done much of internship here, though I did a lot of them in my masters in Zurich. But हाँ, and the second thing is कि my contract, what I did say in terms of payment and everything, like 3,000 gross, 2,000 net in hand after medical and everything, that is when you have a contract of 75%. So here there is a concept कि आपका contract कितने working hours demand करता है. So legally, I'm still allowed to work for 25% of my time anywhere. And generally, it's not a big problem. In fact, in my group, it's never a big problem. Like your supervisor needs to be fine with it. Like you give your 75% of time to work and 25% of time working on somewhere else. So if I work for 25% of time elsewhere, roughly like earning a 500 euros more or probably 800 euros more is not so difficult. I'm not doing that yet, but it's possible.
Okay, so आप outside internships कर सकते हो, but not yet. Okay. Now let's talk about academics. तो apply करने के लिए, to be in a position to apply for PhD, masters, आपने work experience और scores के बारे में बता सकते हो? तो undergrad के बाद आपने कितना work experience लिया, कितना required था, and scores?
Yeah. So yes, coming to that, I've never worked formally, like कुछ internship बीच में किया, but I don't have any job experience yet, even if after my undergrad or after my masters. Undergrad में I would say like one of the things which was very surprising for me, generally it is expected a lot कि बहुत high grades होने चाहिए ETH में पहुंचने के लिए. I'm not denying that. Most of the people have a very good grade. I'm not even denying that. But उस मामले में मेरा grade quite average था. My GPA was 8.0 when I applied and 8.33 by the end of my bachelor's. So this is not the highest grades. Pretty much what I really feel works is write a good statement of purpose. It still works. And somehow, like if you can get a link to ETH, by link I mean if you know someone's work, a professor or a group you are really interested in, you need to show that in your SOP, like ये काम आप ही को करना है and आप इसी के लिए बने हुए हो. If you can see, show that, pretty much I would say you can still get in with a GPA above 7.5. Rare exceptions going way below that. I'm not talking about that. But on an average, you can pretty much easily make a good point in your SOP. Like, ये research आप ही को क्यों करना है and why you are fit for it. So yeah. And after my master's, to be very frank, my grade, like in ETH, it's a grade out of 6. So my grade is around 5.2. So that's also quite, I would say, better than average, but it's not something like very high grades. People have grades around 5.5 as well. I was very lucky in that sense. Like, मेरा PhD बिना मेरे transcript के हो गया था, and that is not generally the thing, because one of my professors at ETH talked to other professors and he did tell me why I want to work in this particular field. What I would say is कि PhD के लिए it really, really matters to have good recommendations. Like, if you have good professors which can recommend you, these things can be looked down later. Like, this could be really managed. So in that sense, वहाँ पे, like, I have never had great grades, like very high grades. I just do better than the average. And I think for getting into a decent college, always that is sufficient. If you can show, like, okay, you don't have the highest of the grades, but what you can bring. So if you have all the other skills, I think it's still managed with just a grade which is just better than average. Yeah.
Awesome. And what about GRE? आपका उसमें कितना स्कोर था? मतलब या एवरेज बता सकते हो?
Yeah, pretty much. So I would say मेरा score 319 था. तो again, like, especially for the European countries, I would say GRE उतना ज़्यादा नहीं माना जाता था. Lately, ETH have started focusing a lot more on GRE because they say it's highly recommended now. Back then, it was just recommended. So yeah, so I would say again, like, 319 is my case, but I know people getting into very good universities with a score of 310 or something like that as well. These things matter. What I'm saying is कि जब तक आप prepare कर रहे हो, go for as high as you can, like 335, 330, do it, whatever the best you can. But don't get into the loop जहाँ पे लोग फिर होता है कि नहीं, I am still like 318, should I give it once more and try to improve it? Try to have a holistic package where you can really put together everything in a very good way. Give your maximum effort before it, and उसके बाद it's all about how well you can present yourself.
And last question, कि अगर किसी स्टूडेंट को, मतलब आपकी यूनिवर्सिटी में जर्मनी में PhD डायरेक्टली करना अंडरग्रेड के बाद, बहुत बढ़िया रिसर्च है, तो अप्लाई कर सकता है, करे या ना?
Yeah, pretty much I would always say कि an application never harms with realistic goals. Like, अगर आपको लगता है कि you have worked a lot on bachelor's, you have good grades and everything, and आपका कोई particular research में बहुत ज़्यादा interest है और you have worked in past, that's great. If not, somehow if you can convince them like you are the perfect guy for this job, I would still say it's possible. I never feel like it's not possible. But yes, in Europe it's not so easy, but I would still say that yes, it is not a problem to make an application. Yeah, do an application. That is the bare minimum that you can do. Yeah.
क्योंकि अगर आप कर जाओ तो बेसिकली 4 साल के अंडरग्रेड के बाद 7 years में you are डॉक्टर टैग लग जाएगा.
Yeah, that would be really great and quick. Yes, I would just say कि यहाँ पे proper PhD का जब निकलता है तो job descriptions आता है कि what they expect. If you can somehow, or you see like, okay, I match this, I'm really into this, this is my thing, then for sure make an application. Probably you will still get it without a master's. Yeah.
Yep. Amazing. And कोई और आपके पास tips हो, कोई final tips for students who also want to do PhD या masters in Europe?
Okay. Yes, like I would just say कि participate in different things. That really help. Like, I was also working with one of the small projects during my master's. It's called ECMWF, Summer of Weather Code. ECMWF is European Center for Mid-Range Weather Forecast, and they create a summer of weather code like GSOC and pretty much on the same lines, but that is more for people from environmental or climate science background. Like, people can do a lot of stuff. So if you show them something that you do other than what your core is, like, okay, you are very good in environmental sciences, but do you do anything else? For me, one of the things at ETH that really worked, I feel, was in first semester वहाँ पे एक HoloLens use करके augmented reality stuff से एक app बनाना था. So it was a very cool class, and it was all a part of a class, so you get the credit as well. So I did that. It went to be showcased at Bern. वहाँ पे conference हुआ and everything. So just show them, okay, this is your core work. You work well. You do great stuff. What else you can do? Can you pick up new things easily? Like, ये सब चीजें pretty much I would say would help a lot in the application at any place.
Awesome. So thank you so much, Mohit. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I'm sure your knowledge experience will help out a lot of prospective students.
Thanks a lot. Like, yes, it was really a pleasure talking to you as well. And hopefully, like, people have some idea. Yeah, they can always reach me if they want to know more about anything.
Yep, definitely. Thank you.